Thank you for being here. Who are we and why are we here? We are citizens from different community groups. Citizens for Sensible Development in El Dorado Hills, Save Our County, Green Valley Alliance, Shingle Springs Community Alliance, and the Rural Communities United. These are groups from throughout our county that are concerned about the current general plan and ordinance changes and their impact on the quality of El Dorado County. The county is currently in the process of updating the general plan and the zoning ordinance. County residents who know about this update are being misled by the very people who are supposed to be protecting us. And the rest of the county has no idea what the general plan update is. We're being told this is just an update, and changes are targeted or minimal. And yet in reality, our protections are being stripped away. We need your help. And if you can't help if you don't know about it. Last November, the Board of Supervisors approved the Town Center Apartments project. That approval traded quality commercial area for extreme high-density residential development, demonstrating the board's willingness to ignore both the law and the need to balance land use. We have initiated litigation to correct this action. The Town Center project is indicative of what is happening with the general plan update. We hope you will question what you hear from the county staff. Perhaps it will be possible to avoid the cost and effort of further legal action if together we can convince the Board of Supervisors to change their course.
The general plan and zoning ordinance are the two main documents guiding land use in the county. The general plan is the county's vision for the next 20 years. The title of our general plan is A Plan for Managed Growth and Open Roads, a plan for quality neighborhoods and traffic relief. The Board of Supervisors have a lot of power over our land use. 3 of them could vote to change policies within the general plan and our zoning ordinance on any given day. Unfortunately, the county's vision for managed growth and traffic relief is different than that of most residents. The county pursues high-density housing to receive incentive grant funding. Developers love high-density projects because it is cheaper to build when housing is packed tightly together. But residents are drawn here for the open space and scenic beauty. There is the conflict. This is El Dorado County, 1.1 million acres. 650,000 acres of that is forest land. Here is an excerpt from page 2 of the general plan. Quote, El Dorado County is blessed with abundant natural resources and has long been recognized for its spectacular beauty. While impacted, these same attributes exist today. The county has a tradition of appreciating and conserving these resources, using them wisely and upholding a strong ethic of stewardship over these assets. It is this combination of these features that are now referred to as rural character, unquote. This statement is so important that it is on page 2 of our general plan, and it applies to you whether you live in El Dorado Hills or Lake Tahoe. If we allow our general plan to be changed too drastically, this rural character will be lost forever. Let's zoom in and take a closer look at the map. This map shows the county's plan for future development. The red lines show where the highest density is planned. These are known as community regions. These community regions were established with very little public understanding that these areas were to become the highest density for development. Much of the land inside the community regions is rural. This rural land is now a target for developers. The zoning ordinance provides the detailed standards for implementing the general plan, such as setbacks and building heights, and avoidance of incompatible uses. This photo shows an example of incompatible uses. Again, 3 supervisors can wreak havoc on our quality of life by their votes. Remember, one man's barriers are another man's protections. In El Dorado County, we have a voter-approved general plan. After multiple years of legal challenges, beginning in 1996, the voters approved the 2004 general plan based on the court-required protective policies that were embedded in it and the promise to implement those policies. Here is the status of the 2004 general plan. The majority of the court-required protective policies have yet to be implemented. The county has never adequately budgeted for implementing the 2004 general plan. Instead of implementing the plan in 2011, the Board of Supervisors passed resolutions to amend the general plan and completely change the zoning ordinance, calling it an update. How about a show of hands? How many of you knew before now that the general plan was being updated? How many of you knew about the zoning ordinance being updated? Do you even know what's in it? In 2012, the Board of Supervisors directed staff to proceed with this update. It was to have minimal changes. If needed, update the ordinance for compliance with state laws and reflect proposed revisions to the general plan. Here's what staff says about the update. The update is required in order to conform to new state laws. We're just implementing the general plan. No land use changes are being made. No new entitlements are being granted. Rezoning is to correct inconsistencies only. These references are carefully crafted to give the impression that not much is changing. However, here is what is actually in the update. Sweeping changes, hundreds of pages to the zoning ordinance. Vast majority of changes are not required by law. The court-required protections are being eliminated. While it may not be clear what all the actual changes are in this update, it is completely clear that the changes are not minimal. And it is not clear at all if our current board is aware of how much we have strayed from minimal changes. When you hear your supervisor saying, "Let's just get this done," they are not advocating for the public. This update strips away the court-required protective policies that were made integral to the voter-approved general plan. The reduced densities controlling traffic congestion are being increased. Protective setbacks for agriculture and riparian protections are being reduced. Open space protections and hillside development restrictions are being weakened. Oak woodland protections, design standards, cultural resource protections, the scenic corridor ordinance, and many others are all being deferred. Noise standards are being relaxed. This update is gutting the voter-approved general plan. The update is neither an implementation nor an update. Aesthetics and quality of life. The 30% open space requirements were one of the court-required protective measures in the voter-approved general plan. The update completely exempts some projects. There will be no open space, or reduces the requirements to 15% in the highest density areas where it is most needed. It allows backyards and patios to be counted as open space. It also allows the developer to place the open space off-site or just pay a fee instead of providing the open space. There are approximately 108,000 parcels in El Dorado County, excluding the cities of Placerville and South Lake Tahoe. The public is being told that approximately 8,000 of those parcels are being rezoned within this update. The reality is that parcel data from the county indicates that over 37,000 parcels are being rezoned. This creates the possibility of higher density and incompatible uses throughout the county without notification of affected neighbors. This update is so vast and overwhelming that we aren't sure what is really in it. The policy regarding opportunity areas is one example. It says, quote, encourage development within designated opportunity areas, facilitate increased density and intensity of developments, utilize incentives, unquote. We don't know where these areas are or what criteria for locating them will be used. We only know that they will be above and beyond the currently allowed density. Who does this benefit and why the secrecy? Our current traffic issues don't indicate that areas of density on steroids are needed right now.
Traffic. This photo is of El Dorado Hills Boulevard in the morning commute. It's backed up even though the lights are green. We see similar backups in Cameron Park, Shingle Springs, and Placerville. The county chose not to evaluate traffic at this intersection, even though by law it's required to monitor traffic at all intersections, highways, and interchanges in the county. In fact, the analysis for this update doesn't include any intersections or interchanges. In spite of multiple requests from residents and Caltrans, and despite the requirement of our general plan. Portions of Highway 50 are already at or beyond their maximum capacity. This causes stop-and-go traffic, leading to what's called level of service F. General plan policies prohibiting this condition have been in place for nearly 20 years in our county. These policies were a result of voter-approved Measure Y, which was first adopted in 1998 and later revised in 2008. Unfortunately, it was weakened slightly at that time. In spite of these general plan policies prohibiting level of service F, Highway 50 at the Sacramento County line has reached level of service F. Let's look briefly at the biggest factor that will impact traffic over the next 20 years, housing. Today there are over 8,000 already approved parcels in the area shown on the map, from the county line to the east side of Shingle Springs. Developers in our county are proposing over 8,000 additional homes in the same area. And south of Folsom in Sacramento County, they're getting ready to break ground on over 10,000 new homes. All of these projects will impact traffic on our roadways in El Dorado County. As you would expect, Caltrans forecasts traffic on Highway 50 will get worse over the next 20 years. The segment from the county line to El Dorado Hills Boulevard will remain level of service F, and traffic volume will increase by over 20%. The segment from El Dorado Hills Boulevard to Bass Lake Road will deteriorate from level of service E to level of service F. The update analysis says traffic at the county line is LOS B or C in 2010. They don't give a number for today, and amazingly will remain level of service B or C over the next 20 years of residential development. Who are you going to believe? Caltrans, the agency responsible for measuring, maintaining, and building our freeways, or the county, which has vested interest in understating the impact of development? The traffic problems don't end with Highway 50, of course. Several other major roadways will approach or exceed capacity. These include Green Valley Road, El Dorado Hills Boulevard, Cambridge Road, Cameron Park Drive, and Missouri Flat Road. Next topic is water. We don't need to tell you that we're all in a drought at this point. What you might not know is that the increased development proposed under the update will increase demands on the county's groundwater supply. That's from the draft Environmental Impact Report. From the list of impacts in the draft EIR, quote, the production rate of pre-existing nearby wells would drop to a level that would not support existing land uses or planned uses for which permits have been granted. This evaluation in the draft DIR does not take into account drought conditions. Policy revisions would make connecting to public water optional rather than required, further depleting groundwater supply. The reality is this update is a threat to water quality and water supply. John Heidel will now join us for a wrap-up of this discussion.
Don't blindly accept what we are being told about this general plan and zoning ordinance update. In summary, the update is broken. County residents have been misinformed about the intent and extent of the update. The update has substantial negative impacts to our quality of life. The vast majority of the changes are not required by law for consistency. The draft environmental impact report is seriously flawed. This isn't really an update, it's a complete overhaul. Here is a video clip from the April 14th, 2015 Board of Supervisors meeting. Community Services Agency Director Steve Pedretti gives the Board of Supervisors a status on the general plan update. Please listen carefully.
Our consultant have already provided about 400 pages of responses to the previous comments on the draft EIR. It's going to take us some time. This is going to delay our response on this and the issuance of the final DIR by at least 2 months. We have to go through line by line and be very meticulous because there were so many comments. And some of these were just highlights. They asked us to make comment, and I'm not getting the right terminology, but to make comments on certain things that were highlighted throughout those pages of documents. And so we have to look at those. We have to come up with a response. In some cases, the response or the question is very similar to a previous question, and so we need to make sure that we answer both of the questions, and they may be slightly different answers, but we have to tie them together on why they're consistent. So we have to be very meticulous. It's going to take a lot of time to go through all of the comments that are there and make sure that we do those correctly. So we're looking, and again, because we expect that we're anticipating there could be legal challenges, we have to be extraordinarily careful on this. So the bottom line, at least 2 months. It's going to cost us some more money working with our consultant. We have the money budgeted. We had planned on giving some of that money back to the general fund as part of our budget, but it looks like we're going to need additional funds. We're going to figure out exactly how much we need to get this done and how much time it's going to take, and we'll bring that back to you as soon as we can.
Mr. Chairman, CAO, I hope we will be supportive for staff to be as meticulous as necessary in responding to those. We've come a long way. We need to do this right. If it takes a couple of more months, if it takes that money that was originally budgeted, I think we need to get this right.
I agree, and we're looking at even reissuing, having a final EIR that has everything in one location so that it makes it easier to deal with.
I think I'm going to disagree.
Sure.
I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
Just because we budgeted for something. In these times, we're cutting programs for CASA, which helps kids, and senior programs. We have these expensive consultants and long-range planning with costs that are completely out of control and inconsistent why we put planning together. To say, well, we should do this because it sounds good, I disagree. We have some budget issues here, Steve. I think we need to find a better way to control our costs.
This is not an action item. Tomorrow we'll be talking budget. I appreciate your comment, but it's probably better kept for an item that would be an action. This is an update.
Yeah, and I did want to follow up on Supervisor Rinaldi's comment that Mr. Pedretti and I met yesterday, and we did discuss this. He brought me up to speed, and I told him, of course, any additional funds for consultants to propel this along was not part of the CAO's recommendations, and since this had just come to my attention. So we're going to continue working on it and see if we can bring your board a recommendation in the totality of all the things you'll have to consider. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Steve?
No, that's it.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, Steve. So this was a staff update. I don't believe it's a public comment, Sue.
As long as it's on the agenda, you have to take public comment.
No, we don't. It's a receive and file presentation.
So is this officially going to deny me this time?
I'm sorry?
Are you officially denying me to comment on this?
Well, we've had open forum. We've had other, yes.
Thank you.
Based on what was said in that video, it is clear that we need to stop this update. In spite of its financial deficit, the county continues to throw more money at this flawed project. More consultant and staff time equals more taxpayer dollars spent. Staff is anticipating expensive litigation which the board could stop with just 3 votes. Steve Pedretti, the CDA director, implies that the public comments of concerned citizens have caused the problem. In reality, the county is causing the problem. This developer-backed overhaul will lead to costly litigation. The public is being cut out of the process. Take action. Stay informed. Get involved. Please help spread the word. Public engagement and participation are vital. Hold your supervisors accountable. Just as with the town center apartments, if the board abuses their discretionary power to approve this flawed update, it will lead to more litigation. Sadly, that is our only recourse. For more information, visit one of the following websites: saveourcounty.net, ruralcommunitiesunited.org, greenvalleyalliance.org, and shinglespringscommunityalliance.net.